I, 26 female, want to invite my parents, 50s male/female, to my wedding, but I'm still mad at them for siding with my sister, 30 female, when she cheated with my ex-fiancé, 26 male. Hello, Reddit. I have an issue and don't know what to do. I apologize in advance for the length of this post. I went to the United States to attend university around 7 years ago. I met a man named Ray when I was there. Ray and I met in our second years of university and began dating right away. I believed he was the ideal person, and everything between us was wonderful as well. We were both born in the same nation, but his parents had retired and were now living on a Southeast Asian island. Ray had to return to our native country after graduation to serve in the military. It is required for all men in our country. I took a job in the United States, and we both agreed that when he finished his 2-year duty, he would return and we would marry. When he returned to our nation, I accompanied him for a week to present him to my family and to send him off to the military. Because his parents did not live in our nation, my family asked him to stay with them during his military leave. I have a 4-year-old sister with whom I have never gotten along, mostly because I am adopted and she does not consider adopted children to be part of the family. We were the only 2 children, and although my parents never really compared us, she was always quite competitive with me. As a result, I never had a good connection with her, and when I came to the United States for university, we never spoke. To cut a long tale short, Ray and my sister undoubtedly slept together numerous times while he was on leave from the Army. I don't believe they intended to tell me, but they were stupid enough not to use protection, and she became pregnant. Being a single mother is very difficult in my own country. Therefore, there was a lot of pressure on Ray to marry her. Of course, I canceled my relationship with Ray as soon as I found out what had transpired, and Ray and my sister eventually married and had a baby boy. My parents were aware of how heartbroken I was at the time, and they were also disappointed with both Ray and my sister, but since my sister was expecting her first child, they opted to support her. They allowed her to live with them while Ray finished his military duty, paid for their wedding and all prenatal care, and essentially committed their life to my sister and their baby. Even today, they have Ray working for my father's firm, and my sister and Ray reside barely 5 minutes away. They are deeply invested in one another's life. Because my sister was right there, and because my parents were both worried and delighted about delivering their first grandchild, they focused all of their attention on making sure the baby was okay. My parents attempted to contact me again when Ray left the military, and he and my sister moved into their own house. But by then, I was already furious at them for ignoring me during the whole ordeal. I was distraught at the moment, and my parents' undivided devotion to my sister shattered me much more. I stopped communicating with them. I know they were devastated. They sent me several emails and phone calls. And although I understand that the circumstance was not their fault, I felt deceived by both my sister and them at the moment. It's been 2 years since then, and I've met another guy, James, with whom I'd fallen in love. He is wonderful to me, and above all, trustworthy. James and I want to marry the following year. He is aware of my family situation and realizes that my sister and Ray will never be a part of our life. I'm adamant about this. He also understands that I want to reconnect with my parents and pushed me to invite them to our wedding as an olive branch. I, too, want them to be there, yet I can't help but feel enraged every time I think about them. How can I stop being so furious with them and start talking to them again? I genuinely want my parents to be a part of my wedding day. I've wanted them to attend since I was a small child, but I can't get over this resentment. Any suggestions? Update. I didn't mind that my sister and Ray married. Being a single mother is frowned upon in our culture, so I anticipated it as soon as they discovered she was pregnant. They and their kid are no longer in my life, and I have reached a point where they no longer bother me. I was more unhappy that I didn't have my parents backing at the moment, or so it seemed. I was completely alone, and although my sister was expecting a child, the circumstance had a significant impact on me. I was in a severe depression at the time, and I felt as if no one, not even my parents, was there for me. I don't blame them for standing behind my sister. She is also one of their children. But it was difficult to have my whole existence torn away from me and then have my sister get all of the support while I had none. Maybe it was selfish of me to feel that way, but I was in a lot of pain at the time, and I wanted my parents to be there for me as well. Prior to this incident, my mother and I were incredibly close, and even when I came to the United States, we would call each other at least once every other day. When my sister became pregnant and returned to their house, They were so preoccupied with her and planning for the baby and my sister's future that they only phoned about once every other week. And since my sister was living with them and was such an important part of their life, the talks were mostly around her and the baby. When I informed them I didn't want to hear anything about my sister or her kid, the calls stopped completely. It would phone me once every couple of months to make sure I was all right. But the conversations were just a few minutes long. I attempted to contact my mother as well, but I knew she was uncomfortable since my sister was living with them, so phone chats with her were usually brief and superficial. After Ray returned from his military duty, he and my sister moved into their own house, and my parents attempted to contact me more often, I presume to provide support, but I was pretty miserable at the time and didn't want to speak to them at all. I believe all I wanted was for my parents to express that they still loved me and knew how much I was struggling. Perhaps they didn't know how to support both me and my sister at the same time, but it seemed like they weren't there for me at all at my darkest hour. I was in a new country with a new job, and I didn't have anybody to lean on, so the fact that I couldn't even phone my parents and tell them how much I was suffering made me feel like there was no one at all who cared about me. Story 2. Talked with the wife of the person my wife cheated on me with. After 14 years together, I notified my 35 male wife, 33 female, of what was going on. I also informed the wife of the person with whom she was in a relationship about the situation. When I was overseas for the Army in 2010, my wife met someone online and then met him in person. It was a wonderful experience. Their connection was mostly emotional and not very physical, according to her. I worked on our relationship when our kid was a year old, and we eventually moved on from her adultery at the time of her infidelity. During their first meeting, she maintains that there was no contact other than caressing, kissing, and other such gestures. Let's fast forward another 10 years, and at the beginning of August, I discovered that they had reunited online and were going to meet up while I was away on a vacation with my family. So we've been separated since then, but since we now have 3 children, we're trying to make things work as best we can. My wife suffers from mental illness and has had past trauma as a result of being as a youngster. As a result, I realize that her acts are manifestations of what she has gone through, but I also see that she is still capable of making the decisions that she does. On Sunday, she requested that I assist her in discontinuing all communication with this guy. I've been supportive and helpful in order for her to regain her mental equilibrium, so that the two of us can determine whether or not we want to continue our relationship or have a divorce in the future. I was reading some of the postings on this sub and saw that there were a lot of remarks about notifying the other side of what is going on. So I went on the internet and discovered the wife of the man with whom she had been having an affair with. Her spouse has been doing things behind her back, and I spoke with her on the phone yesterday to inform her of this. Let's name her Kay for the time being. Kay received screenshots of their emails and text messages, which I sent. Kay was definitely taken aback when she discovered what was going on, and even more so when she discovered that this had occurred in 2010. As a result, I informed my wife about my talk with Kay earlier today. My wife was really taken aback. I'm aware that she is not stable due to her mental condition, and she has informed me that she is unsure of who she wants at this moment. I'm not surprised. I'm sure a lot of it was a source of shock and shame for my wife, which Kay now understands. Nonetheless, I'd want to make sure that I'm not going insane by contacting Kay and contemplating divorce, while my wife isn't in a sound mental condition, since her reply revealed exactly what I feared. She cares more about their relationship than she does about ours.